Reports find U.S.-born skier Eileen Gu is cashing in on her fame in China. Following her victory in Beijing, she's expected to secure dozens more sponsorships and endorsements from Chinese companies. But experts warn of risks. More than half of China's Olympic hockey players are originally from somewhere else. But some are questioning why the mostly American and Canadian athletes are allowed to compete for Beijing at all. And we look into some of the seemingly extreme results of Beijing's zero-cases pandemic policy. One man has reportedly taken over 90 tests in just a matter of months. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Before we turn to today's news, we have a short announcement. Starting this Tuesday, our program is moving from YouTube to NTD's partner platform Epoch TV. We'll still share a shortened version of our program on YouTube Monday to Saturday, while full episodes can be watched on Epoch TV after signing up. We're making the change for a few reasons. YouTube demonetized us a year ago and at the same time stopped recommending our episodes to users. Recently, they seem to have resumed part of that recommendation function, but on a limited basis. And what's more, we get constant reports from viewers saying they were quietly unsubscribed from our channel without reason or notice from YouTube. For some viewers, it happened repeatedly. We aim to provide you first-hand China news you can't find elsewhere. This change aims to push that purpose even further. To sign up, please click the link down below. Now we turn to the Beijing Olympics Games. Eileen Gu's choice to compete for China at the Olympics seems to have paid off for now. The U.S.-born freestyle skier says she made the choice to honor her mother, who was born in China. But the move has meant financial return too. After winning gold in the Olympics big air competition, sales of Gu's red ski suit surged 20-fold on Chinese e-commerce platform JD.com. Her ski wear was made by Chinese sportswear brand Anta. On top of that, Chinese coffee house chain Luckin Coffee sold out of its Gu-endorsed drinks, with a sales spike for cup holders that bear her image. The Chinese coffee chain garnered U.S. attention 2 years ago over a fraud scandal. It was found to have faked more than $300 million worth of sales around 2 years ago to boost investment, an incident that got it delisted from NASDAQ. Luckin was also made to pony up $180 million to settle charges with America's market watchdog, the Securities and Exchange Commission. Anta and Luckin are just a few of the brands Gu endorses in China. Others include Bank of China, Cadillac China, and China Mobile. The athlete's soaring popularity in the country could propel her to the top of the earnings list. A Chinese news outlet estimated Gu's earnings from last year exceeded $30 million. But an advertising expert is raising concerns.
She might hit the ceiling very quickly. And there's a point in time where you see an advertisement too many times, you start to get burned out by it.
And there's another issue.
Eileen has done a great job of making sure that she does not say the wrong thing. But you know what? You're going to mess up sometimes.
Unlike her gravity-defying ski tricks, Gu's public persona is low risk. She's avoided directly addressing questions about her citizenship status, as well as those about human rights in China, though her decision to compete for China has drawn criticism in the U.S. At the same time, she must navigate China's tightening oversight on celebrities. That's as a number of stars have already been canceled by authorities after so-called missteps. As the Winter Olympics continue, both American and Chinese social media platforms have been buzzing with the same question. What's going on with Team China star athlete, U.S.-born skier Eileen Gu, and her citizenship status? Now, the mystery is growing after a report by Voice of America found 2 Olympic websites had scrubbed contradictory information about her status. The report zooms in on a website belonging to the Beijing Games organizers. On it, Gu's profile page had mentioned that she renounced her U.S. citizenship in favor of Chinese citizenship to represent China at the Winter Games. But shortly after Gu won her first gold medal during the Beijing Winter Games, that sentence was removed. A separate Olympics article titled 5 Things You Didn't Know About Eileen Gu had stated that she carried dual nationality. That sentence also disappeared later. China does not permit dual citizenship, and under International Olympic Committee rules, Gu must be a Chinese national to compete for China. The International Olympic Committee confirmed on Friday that Gu acquired Chinese nationality in 2019, but it did not address the issue of quietly rewriting the articles about Gu. The Federal Register, an official U.S. government journal, publishes a quarterly list of individuals who have renounced citizenship. But Eileen Gu's name does not appear anywhere, though reports say it may take months or years for her name to join the list. U.S. authorities have not commented on whether Gu has renounced her U.S. citizenship. Switching Olympic teams is far from unheard of in many countries, but there is a difference when switching to China, as the naturalized athletes may find themselves competing not only for themselves, but also for something else. Following Gu's victory in Big Air, the Chinese Communist Party sent her a letter, urging her to strive for greater glory for the Chinese Communist Party. Gu's current citizenship status remains unknown, but a U.S. expert on Chinese sports told Voice of America that China may grant the foreign-born athletes rare exceptions to naturalize without giving up their dual nationalities. That's as the country recruited record number of foreign-born athletes to improve its performance in winter sports ahead of its first time hosting the Winter Games. Eileen Gu isn't the only Chinese athlete who has been questioned about her citizenship. China's Olympic men's hockey team is mostly made up of American and Canadian players. They usually play professionally in Russia, though during the Beijing Games they represented China. But the issue of Team China's varied nationalities has raised some questions. That's because the International Olympic Committee dictates that competitors must be citizens of the country they represent, or if an athlete has 2 or more citizenships, they may choose to represent either of them. But there's another component. China does not recognize dual citizenship, meaning anyone who holds Chinese citizenship cannot hold allegiance to any other country. Because of China's rule, many are asking if these athletes gave up their original citizenships to compete for China. According to the Wall Street Journal, none of the bodies directly responsible for Team China's hockey squad, the Chinese Olympic Committee, the International Ice Hockey Federation, or the International Olympic Committee will respond to questions about the team's large foreign contingent. Among China's 25-man roster, the most famous name is U.S.-born athlete Jake Chilios, son of National Hockey League legend Chris Chilios. Jack Chilios goes by the name Jackie Kaliosi while playing for China. He and several of his teammates still have their American passports. When asked if he had naturalized as a Chinese citizen, he responded saying he's not supposed to comment on that. What's more, the International Ice Hockey Federation rules that before competing for a new country, an athlete who changed citizenship status must participate for at least 2 consecutive hockey seasons and 16 consecutive months in the national competitions of the new country. Due to China's rigid pandemic policies, the team did not spend the 2020-21 or 2021-2022 seasons in China. Instead, they trained and played games in Russia, later flying to Beijing on January 20th to join the Olympic Village ahead of the Games. And in skiing, finally, some real snow for the Beijing Winter Olympics. As so far, most of the snow at the ski sites in and around Beijing has been artificial. But fresh snowfall at the Games caused women's free ski slope-style competitors to skid, crash, and fall. A blizzard over the weekend dumped several inches of snow before qualifier events. The snow forced organizers to postpone the qualifiers on Sunday to Monday. Nearly half of the skiers stumbled or missed their landings on the unusually soft snow. A hush fell over the crowd after American Maren Hamill crashed after her second jump. Hamill lay motionless for several moments as rescuers rushed to treat her. The qualifiers were paused as she was taken off the course on a stretcher and put into an ambulance. Earlier in the day, American Carolyn Clare fell during a practice run down the course and did not participate in the event. U.S.-born Chinese team member Eileen Gu also stumbled during her first run. She said qualifiers were always nerve-wracking, but Monday's event has been scary. Beijing says its strict virus testing requirements aim to completely rid China of COVID-19. But is that the only goal? A leaked audio clip reportedly capturing a conversation with a Chinese expert reveals a different take, that Chinese Communist Party leaders are driving it to bring in profit.
Mass testing for COVID-19 has become a common practice in China. In just the last week, at least 5 cities in China began new rounds of testing, mandatory for all residents. That's after new CCP virus cases, which caused COVID-19, emerged locally. Even in Beijing's Olympics village, thousands of athletes have had to take the tests daily or face being blocked from leaving their hotels. The strict testing practice is part of Beijing's zero cases policy, which seeks to completely eradicate all COVID-19 cases in the country. The testing aims to immediately detect any possible appearance of the virus, so it can be halted as soon as possible. But the policy has led to some extreme effects. Media outlets are now racking up reports of citizens who have been tested to the extreme. Reports are calling a ride-hail driver in southern China's Ruili city the country's most tested person. The New York Times reported the man has been tested 90 times within 7 months, equivalent to 3 times a week. As for the most tested child, a baby, just a year and a half old from the same city, has been tested 74 times. But does China have other reasons for the large-scale test mandates? Expert Huang Wangsheng from China may hint at another option in a purported audio clip. Huang is a former scholar at Harvard University, specializing in politics and sociology. The voice in the following recording is said to be Huang's. The off-the-record conversation was captured and put online. In the clip, the voice says one of the major motives behind China's zero-COVID policy is profit, going on to say that a single company has earned $100 billion from the mass testing alone. It's later explained that many of the Chinese Communist Party's top officials and their business representatives are involved in the medical field, including both the virus testing industry and the vaccine development industry. But that's not all.
Our country's leaders, business representatives, and their family members are involved in the mass testing business. As long as there are 1 or 2 cases, all residents in the entire region will be tested. What they want is the purchase amount of the testing kit, and this makes a profit.
The recording adds that the concentration of power has led to a major problem. China's medical resources are mainly concentrated in large hospitals, meaning those facilities quickly become overburdened amid the pandemic. The other member of the conversation chimed in at this point, saying this problem is getting huge and that health problems have become political problems. This recording has been circulating online since the beginning of the month. It's triggered heated discussion, though neither Huang nor Chinese authorities have offered comment. But one post from Chinese social media platform WeChat has caught attention after the fact. It claims Huang isn't pleased the recording was posted online.
The first journalist who was jailed for exposing Beijing's virus cover-up is recovering after her hunger strike in prison. That's according to her mother. In December of 2020, Zhang Zhen was sentenced to 4 years in prison. The Chinese court had accused her of picking quarrels and provoking trouble. Earlier in 2020, Zhang had shared videos online about what was happening in Wuhan, ground zero of the CCP virus pandemic. That's until police detained her in May. Her first-hand accounts of crowded hospitals and her local interviews painted a dire picture of the city, which is taboo under the communist regime. Zhang is a lawyer. She insists she is not guilty. While in prison last year, she started a hunger strike. By November, she was on the brink of death. But now Zhang is recovering. The founder of the Free Zhang Zhen is Jane Wang. She wrote an update on Twitter over the weekend saying Zhang's mother says when she saw her daughter 2 weeks ago, Zhang's condition was improving and she could walk on her own again. Zhang is one of several citizen journalists who have run into trouble for reporting on Wuhan's epidemic in the early days. Another is Fang Bing, It's been 2 years since his disappearance. He's now rumored to be locked up in a local detention center on undisclosed charges. But the authorities have refused to confirm that claim. And Chen Qiushi is another. He had disappeared from public view for more than a year before reappearing last September. He says many things happened in that time that he cannot disclose, adding during that time he became depressed. Later, his Douyin social networking account was blocked. Douyin is the Chinese version of TikTok, and Li Zhehua was put under house arrest by authorities. His current situation is unclear. What do Chinese citizens think about democracy? On Chinese social media, only the opinions in line with the Chinese Communist Party's narrative can be found. That's due to Beijing's widespread internet censorship. Comments like China's democracy is better than America's are commonplace, but other voices sometimes come through if you're quick enough to see them before they're removed. A recent video sparked attention on Chinese social media. It shows an old man saying he'd like to live to see a democratic China. The video was allegedly captured earlier this year. The gentleman's name is Yang Xiaoping, and in the clip is celebrating his 80th birthday. He is a former major general for the Chinese army and the son of a former top official, the Beijing military region commander. The celebration took place at a well-known restaurant in Beijing. Yang thanked those who attended his party, saying a celebration for him had never been so grand.
I'm 80 today. Don't have many years to come for me, but I'm confident that I will live until that day when we welcome China to a constitutional democracy, a great change that has not been seen in a century, and I will look forward to that day.
Yang's speech triggered heated discussions online. Many netizens commented in support of him. One of them called his comments inspiring and said they could never have imagined they would hear this kind of talk. Another user predicted these kinds of voices will rise more and more, louder and stronger, and they will become a vast ocean and drown the demons. Australia says it's evacuating its embassy in Kyiv as the situation on the Russia-Ukraine border is deteriorating quickly. And Australia's Prime Minister called out China for staying chillingly silent on the crisis. Jason Albano reports.
Australia on Sunday said it was evacuating its embassy in Kyiv amid a growing threat of a Russian invasion of Ukraine. Prime Minister Scott Morrison said the situation was reaching a stage he called dangerous. He also called out China for not speaking out for Ukraine. That comes after Beijing criticized Canberra for hosting a meeting of U.S., Australian, Japanese and Indian foreign ministers last week.
Chinese government is happy to criticize Australia for engaging in such peaceful activities, but yet remains chillingly silent on Russian troops amassing on the Ukrainian border. The coalition of autocracies that we're seeking to bully other countries, is not something that Australia ever takes a light position on, and certainly my government never has.
The U.S. has also ordered most of its embassy staff to leave Kyiv due to the deteriorating situation. And on Sunday, it sent more weaponry and ammunition to Ukraine's capital as part of a $200 million security package. Meanwhile, further south, Ukrainian security forces held drills aimed at cracking down on possible provocations at the border with Russian-annexed Crimea. Russia's state-owned news agency RIA said the Kremlin had also begun naval exercises near the Crimean Peninsula. Moscow denies any plan to invade, saying it is maintaining its own security against aggression by NATO allies.
On the opening day of the Winter Olympics earlier this month, China and Russia declared a no-limits partnership. They said they would back each other over standoffs on Ukraine and Taiwan, and they promised each other to collaborate more against the West. In January, the Russian and Chinese navies held military exercises in the Arabian Sea, and Russia, China, and Iran have been holding joint naval drills in the Indian Ocean. YouTube and TikTok track users more than any other social platform. That's according to security firm Atlas VPN. It says both of them use 14 different trackers to see what you're up to online. But we don't know exactly what they're gathering or where it's going. TikTok is Chinese-owned and operates under parent company ByteDance. The video-sharing app recently overtook Google as the most visited website in the world. A number of federal agencies, plus the U.S. military, have already banned staff from downloading it, citing national security risks and the China connection. A recent survey found that 80% of Americans are worried about their online privacy and would be willing to pay for social media in return for better protections. And right now, at least one company is trying to take advantage of that sentiment. MeWe is a U.S.-based Facebook alternative that doesn't track users or sell user data to advertisers. Instead, it makes its money by selling extra features to its users. And that's all for today's China in Focus. And just a reminder for those tuning in late. Starting Tuesday, our full-length programming will move to a new platform, NTD's partner platform, Epoch TV. We'll still share a shortened version of our program on YouTube Monday to Saturday, while full episodes can be watched on Epoch TV after sign-up. Thanks for watching, and see you tomorrow.